social media together. And then we're going to jump in and then jump out so we can get the word from Minister Yasab today. Love you all so much. I said last night, I am a mirror. That means I got to reflect what it is that we try to put out. So, words don't mean anything. Swearing, the Bible even tells us not to swear. And if we do swear, don't swear by anything but Yahweh. But even still, don't even swear on him, actually. Excuse me. I'm saying it wrong. Don't even swear on him. Right? Let your yea be yea and your yea and your nay. Let yea be yea and nay be nay. That's what it actually says. So that's what we're going to do. It's time for us to be all that Yah said we can be. We were okay with doing that in the army. We should be okay doing that for Yahweh's word. And so I thank you all for being on today and being consistent, being the righteousness of Yah that you always are. Please forgive me for a second. You guys are going to hear a little bit of noise. Just plugging in to make sure you guys can hear and see, or that we don't lose you guys with the charge. Hold on 1 second as well. Alrighty, I think we are just about ready to go. Just setting up the last platform so that we can jump in. Shabbat Shalom, especially for those who are using the Julian Gregorian calendar for your Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom. Hopefully you're able to keep this and keep your heart stay on the Most High. Thank you again. Thankful and grateful to have everybody on with us. Okay, we're almost there, y'all. Almost there. Give me a sec. Last platform. What is oh no. Okay. All right, we're about to go into it. Let's get into it. So this hashtag finish strong. We created a hashtag a safe place. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh Elohim, to Damai Shabachei, Toda. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. I think we're ready. Okay. Oh, hold on 1 second. Okay. Alrighty. I believe we got everybody on. Thank you for being on. Let's go ahead and get started. I know persons aren't used to us starting on time, let alone starting early. So let us turn back the page to where that was a guarantee. For some of you, let us turn a new leaf. All right. All praises to the Most High. All righty. Why are all these Jews live streaming themselves working out? Who is telling you to do this? Am I working out? I am working out behind the scenes. Sometimes I put some kung fu over. That's for those who are doing homeschooling and children and stuff. That's one of the things we do. But I don't know what that has to do with today. But, I wasn't aware. I don't know. Why are all these Christians showing themselves working out? Why are atheists showing themselves working out? Why are persons who are trying to be thirst traps showing themselves working out? It's interesting that it's only one group that's being focused on. But anyways, and probably if that's on the timeline, you might want to go ahead and just shift the timeline. That being said, let's get started. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Aman. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste. Osayana Kitabuya, Ohio. I see you. Manut, Ugwan, Kamsa, Kamsamida, Aloha, Ciao, Bonson, Crevet, Habarigani, Aquaba, Madase, Etase, Jambo, maybe Kofi, and the Faraku Katan the Wewe, Bokuto, Bokutab, greetings, grand risings, Bakwarta, Barakalat Shem Yahava, Shabbat Shalom, Anna Aik, of Aik, Khilit Seven of Christ, Mashalam Chi, Tada, Banshapachi, to set the Aik at Yahara Sha'al, right? Tada, and thank you for being on. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servants of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. We appreciate you. That means we lift you up in value. We appreciate, right? Before somebody hits me with the other connotation, right? Before us that comes on here and gets upset, that's what we mean by that. That's what we appreciate. Appreciate is pronounced in that specific manner to ensure that there is no qualms about what we mean by that. But thank you for being on. Real quick, before we get all the way into this, can everybody hear and see me okay? Yes, no, maybe so? Can you hear us and see us all right? Yes, no, maybe so? Prayerfully so. If you can just let me know in the chat. Yes, all righty, cool. Yes, over there. And welcome on all the different platforms. We appreciate you. If you would like to go ahead and actually see where we're headed today, I normally have, we do these the live sessions in the beginning of the day are about 3 hours actually, but on Shabbat we only got about 2. So if you actually have one Q&A to take place, we do those on Thursdays and Fridays, every other Thursday and Friday, which will be this Thursday and Friday coming up. If you're actually genuinely interested, you can join us around the same time and ask away, and try to chip away and try to say what it is that I know and all these different things or whatever, right? But Revelation chapter 2, verse 9, I'm very aware of. Revelation chapter 2, verse 14, I'm also very aware of. Bala Am doctrine based off of Numbers 22, 23, and 24. Revelation chapter 3, verses 7 through 9, I'm also very aware of. Revelation chapter 7, I'm also very aware of. Revelation chapter 12 and 13, I'm also very aware of. And today, we're going to focus on Revelation chapter 18, right? So I'm very aware that if you'd like to actually hear, instead of assuming that you know where I'm headed with this, because it's, and assuming that everybody is actually saying the same thing that you probably have assumed that I'm saying, then you can go ahead and listen. If not, you can go ahead and keep putting stuff out there before I even start and making assumptions, right? But let's go ahead and get into the actual word that I'm supposed to be giving today. Once again, I appreciate you. So if you're able to rise to your feet in reverence of Yahweh's word, we'll get ready to say our Bible pledge as a group, and you can just repeat after me after that, or however you're able to reverence the word. We thank you for doing that in advance. Real quick, before we do so, as a reminder, so we have the podcast, Minister Yasab be giving the word at 10 a.m. New York time. Feel free to join us for that. 11 a.m. New York time, the Shabbat school for the babies. We look forward to seeing them on Zoom. We'll send out the link and everything as we always do. And at 7 p.m. New York time this evening, we're going to have our Brothers in Black, which is, when we once a year do a service specifically just for the brothers. It'll be on Zoom, also be recorded for you guys if you miss it. And we look forward to the word. So thank you all for being on again. Thank you for being on. We appreciate you. Even if you have already decided on who we are before we start. How you doing, Alaskan Apple? How you doing, D-Drone? Shabbat Shalom. Hey, is it yes, few days? Okay, absolutely nothing to me as far as that comment. Notorious Big is in the street. Okay, somehow, I guess that's one of them things. All black people look the same. Cool. How you doing, Skid? How you doing, Computer? No, I really don't care to. Thank you, Dustin. Coming from you, that means that my hair is fabulous. How you doing, Mario? Too good. How you doing, Indo? Bruder Richard. Let's see. Brother Darius, bless Jewel. Tabitha, Darius, Steve Lee Mom, Michael, Mel, Carlos Napier, not your biz, Deidre Mullen, JM, Charles DeWar, Steve John Nin, Don, Pococo, not sure how to pronounce that, David D, JB the Chosen, and Ree, Pup, everybody, we appreciate you, and thank y'all for the likes, thank you for shares, in the notification tab as well. We also ask for your prayers, having a little bit of issue still with the vehicle and stuff like that. Had a chunk missing from the tire, so prayerfully we'll be able to get that done out here where we are on a Saturday. We rode somewhere to where it should be close enough for us to be able to get stuff done, and I think we got enough pennies and everything to rub together. Just pray that all goes well for us. We thank you in advance. Many of you don't know that a lot of us are going to be coming through today. We are actually family, not just in the sense that we meet up for a service or two here or there, but we actually know each other. We take care of each other. We support each other's businesses. We do what the word says. We study the word. We love each other, not just through saying I love each other, but through actual actions. And we thank you, everybody, for helping us to make sure that this year we have created a hashtag a safe place, and we're going to hashtag King Strong, and we're going to make sure that we continue to make sure this is not just virtual, this is reality. Hey, how you doing, Sister Joy? Shalom, daughter, how you doing? Much love to you. Hopefully, all is as well as can be. You're doing there. Keep on pushing. Keep fighting the good fight. How you doing, Minister Raj? Alrighty. How you doing, Sister Danielle? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead. I'm sorry, Sister Michelle. Shabbat shalom to you and your husband. And if there's any of the babies around, anything like that, we are thankful and grateful for you all as well. All praises to the Most High. All righty. Cool. So, we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll say our Bible pledge. You can just repeat after me. It goes like this. This is my Bible. This is my sword. And this will I trust. For Yahshua is Lord. No sword of God shall ever be heard. For this is my Bible, and this is Yah's word. Hashem Yechavach, Amen. His name is authority. Let it be done unto us. If you are standing or reverencing the word, however, if you'd like to go in your Bible or your Bible app, whatever you're using, if you'd like to just listen, or however you can, we're going to read Revelation. We're going to focus really technically on all of Revelation, chapter 18. But we're going to read Revelation chapter 18, and we're going to focus today on verses 23 and 24. So if you're able to turn there with me real quick, Revelation chapter 18, verses 23 and 24. Once again, thank you everybody for being on. I appreciate you on all the different platforms. If I miss you, it's because I got like the light right in my eyes. Hey, how you doing, Sister Sylvia? If I miss you, it's because I have the light right in my eyes, so please forgive me if I don't catch everything. Matter of fact, please forgive me because I'm a human being. So we have multiple platforms, so if I just don't catch it, I just don't catch it. There's no offense to anybody. How you doing, Auntie Marion? All right. No, I am not a Muslim, Randall. I appreciate you. Yes, Christ is King. Malachi. Or I'm sorry, excuse me. Malachi. Yes, he is King. Appreciate you. All right. But today, we're going to focus on what we've been given by the Most High. All righty. And how you doing, Honda? Thanks for being on. Okay, everybody ready? Or even if you're not, or even if you just troll or whatever the case is, that's cool. But we're going to read Revelation chapter 18. We're going to focus on verse 23. And I guess we'll read verse 24, and then we'll get into today's message. Revelation chapter 18, verse 23. If you have it, if you're going to be with this, if you haven't, say amen. Say I got it. Say I'm with you. Say I'm listening. How you doing, Sister Leslie? Also, too, please keep my family in prayer. Obviously, with the loss of family members, please keep Minister Akita, loss of family members. Please keep Sister Austral in prayer as she's healing. Please keep Sister Andrea in prayer as she's healing. Please keep Minister Samaya Larray in prayer. And those of you who have the ability to reach out to her, feel free to. And let her know that you're praying for her and thinking about her. I know we're all going through quite a bit at times. You're either in a storm, going into a storm, or coming out of one. That being said, we ask specifically if you guys don't mind lifting those names up. And if you're able to reach out to any of them, please feel free to do so. How you doing, Joseph? Thanks for being on. Thank y'all for the love once again. Okay. How you doing, Sister Carla? One love? All right. All right. One love, Wagwan. Okay. Touch and agree. All right. Also, too, I'm sorry, excuse me. I still haven't gotten the word. I still haven't reached out to you, but prayerfully all is well with Bruder Richard and family and your son. We're praying for that situation, regardless of how things have gone. We know that God gets the glory, and as long as we are obedient, all things work together exactly the way He needs them to, according to His word, right? And that means it works out as exactly how we need it to. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this. Revelation chapter 18, verse 23. It reads as follows. Revelation chapter 18 in verse 23, starting there, it reads as follows. It says, "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee." I need you to catch this. "And the light of a candle shall shine no more where? In thee." That says you as the individual. "And the voice of the bridegroom," that's the voice of the groom, the voice of the husband, right? "And the bride," the husband and the one married to the husband, the bride, so the husband and the wife, right? That's the context. "Shall be heard no more at all in thee." For thy merchants were great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. We'll read that again, this time without me stopping. Verse 23, Revelation chapter 18, starting there, it says, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy sorceries, right, hold that word, that's important, by thy sorceries were all nations deceived, right? And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. You may be seated to go back to what you're doing in the presence of the Most High Yah. Today we're going to continue our series called Reversing the Curse, means revisiting the lie. And today specifically the lie we're focused on is Pharmakia, also known as pharmacy. Pharmakia, also known as pharmacy. Now, a lot of us have read through Revelation, heard a lot of Revelation. Some of you even who know it as apocalypse, you're just using the Greek term. And apocalypse actually is, if you know it as apocalypse, if you actually know how to read, or at least you know the connotation, denotation, if you know the phonetics, if you will, of the Greek language, especially the Greek language they're using then you already kind of know where we're headed when we're talking about pharmakia with this, right? Now, if you're not aware, the term pharmakia or pharmacy, right? Pharmakia is a spirit that is worshipped. Pharmakia is a spirit that is worshipped, and anybody who is into pharmakia or a disciple of pharmakia, they are into something that pharmakia also stands for as far as definition. If you were to look up the definition of pharmakia, pharmacy, you would discover that pharmakia is witchcraft, or a witch that does witchcraft. What is witchcraft considered to be? Persons who administer drugs or persons that create craft things to control you. Right? How you doing, Brother Keith? Right, I'm gonna say that again. If you know what pharmakia actually means, if you were to look it up, pharmacy is somebody who's worshipped, right? Pharmacy. Really, it should be pharmaki, but you speak a dialect of Greek, right? Alphabet is Greek, right? So you speak in a dialect of it, you write in a so-called dialect of it, or if you want to think of it as a dialect, you write a different type of style, right? But it's based off of this language. And when they're using this in the Greek, they're obviously translating this from Hebrew origin. Now, why is that important for us to catch? Not just because we're trying to make sure, hey, if it's not Hebrew, it ain't right, but because the Israelite comprehends the word when the word says, according to the Most High, that a witch deserves something. What does your Bible say that a witch deserves? Be very careful. I'm going to fix it for us in a second. Right? But what does your Bible say? And Shabbat Shalom to all coming on, welcome. What does your Bible say that witches deserve? What does your Bible say that if you were in Israel going through the wilderness and you ran into a witch, witches deserve what? What is it that we're supposed to do to protect ourselves from witches? Okay, we say to be deleted, DOA, right? So a witch deserves, according to the Bible, to be unalive. Now, let me fix this real quick. This is not a call, because you got to make sure you cover yourself legally nowadays. And boy, will some persons do something and try to use you as their excuse to do so, right? I'm not here making a call for somebody to pick up arms, going to find somebody, and trying to delete them because you have decided that they are a witch. However, I would be somebody to tell you that if you are a witch, or if you are dealing in witchcraft, you might want to try and find a different profession before either you pass on or before the chashva comes back. Because one or the other is guaranteed. For some, both are guaranteed. And if the Bible doesn't favor witches too kindly, you might want to be careful. How you doing, Cooper? Thanks for being part of the community. That being so, I've made that plain. If somebody tried to say, "Oh, he was on here saying," it's recorded. It's on here. It's on multiple platforms, and I have witnesses. That is not what we have told you to do. However, we are telling you to be careful, and those of you that are around witches, you need to be careful because of what they do. Now, watch this. Many of you have read Revelation, but have not really thought about Revelation talking about witchcraft. Right, right. Yes, we agree with that, Ibrag. And how you doing? So, a lot of persons miss this, but watch this. I'm going to read Revelation chapter 18, verse 23 again, and I want you to catch a word. It says, "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom, right, and of the bride, shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants were the great men of the earth. For by thy," here's the key word I want you to catch, "by thy sorceries were all nations deceived." By thy what? By thy sorceries. How many nations were deceived? All nations were deceived. By thy what? By thy sorceries, all nations were deceived. If you stick around, you'll probably find out exactly what we're about in a little bit, right? So, in all these different things, you said Revelation is figurative? Sure, okay. Have you ever watched Star Wars, Star Trek, watched whatever favorite movie you like? Have you watched The Matrix? Have you watched whatever? And said, I could learn something from that and still be ready. Yes, you probably have. Have you ever read a book and learned something from it, even if it was if it was fiction? If so, then if you believe this to be fictional or figurative, you can still learn something. You might want to actually sit down long enough to listen. If not, you're just showing that you have Dunning-Kruger effect. You know what I'm saying? Persons are weird with that. Oh, I don't believe that it's actually real. Okay, but you watch stuff that's not real all the time. You have something called suspension of disbelief, right? So your disbelief in the word, suspend that disbelief long enough to actually see it from somebody speaking from cultural, contextual perspective, or just be somebody who's out there kind of looking foolish for saying that I listen to things that I know are lies all the time, but I'm going to act like I can't at least give you a chance that I give all these other persons who are known liars. If you watch a movie, they're lying to you. They're acting, right? It's drama, right? Drama is an act. It's a lie. It is. It is. But that being said, now I believe that the Bible is true. But that being said, if you don't, could you still learn something? Yeah. All right. How you doing, Kathy? Thanks for being part of the community. It's person's got weird rhetoric, or I guess they're just coming on the troll. It's okay, right? That being said, so once again, the word I want you to focus on is sorceries, because when you look at this word sorceries in the Septuagint or in the Greek version of the Bible, right, you will discover that the word sorceries here is in fact the word pharmakia, right? The word sorceries here is in fact the word pharmakia. What does pharmakia mean? Pharmakia means pharmacy. But once again, what does pharmacy actually mean? Or I'm sorry, not pharmacy. Pharmakia is what you call today pharmacy. Pharmacy or pharmakia was always known as a spirit that's worshipped, as those who are witches, as those that are into witchcraft, and those who craft things to be able to control, including persons who give you drugs. I had to be careful how many times I use that term, because they'll try to say that I'm selling things or whatever, because they want to make sure that they keep us, down or whatever. So, but persons who give you these prescriptions, if you will. Now, remember, we told you yesterday what to prescribe means, or a prescript means. Back from Romantic times, persons who were using Greek, right? Remember, we talked about Caesar and Crassus and I'm forgetting his name. Caesar, Crassus, and the older one who was Caesar's brother-in-law for a little bit. I can't recall his name right now. But the three of them, the triumvirate, would come together and they would do something called Pompey. Thank you, Pompey. And they would come together and they would prescript or prescribe something. When you prescribe or prescript something, you're saying, I'll sign off on something, but you have to off somebody, or I'll sign up on something, but, right, I'll sign off on it, but, you're going to have to kick somebody out. And how you doing, Sister Jennifer? That's what a prescription is. That's what a prescription is. If I give you this medicine, comprehend there's a side effect coming. That's a prescription. We don't know where words come from. We don't care about actual etymology. And sometimes we're so busy using that homonym, trying to say, oh, I don't like the way that you look, that you can't actually hear what somebody's saying. But here you are dying due to witchcraft during the Pharmakia, which is somebody's belief system. As much as you guys say you're into science and you're into actual medicine and you're not into pseudoscience and pseudo-medicinal thought process, and yet here it is, somebody's belief system is the way to make sure that they make you better in one area is to ensure that you will get worse in another. It's like selling your soul. You'll get what you want for the moment, but your body will fall apart at the end, right? Even the word, by the way, soul, if you're talking about the Greek connotation and the Greek context, and even the Greek denotation, the word soul is psyche, psyche, P-S-Y-C-H-E. Yes, it is. A lot of persons don't even know. So if you go to a psychologist or you go to a psychiatrist, let's just say psychologist. Psychologist is the easy one for us. Psychologist means one who is proficient, that's where the IST comes from, proficient at the logic of or the study of, that's where the logia comes from, and then what? Your soul, the psyche. So if one is going to see a psychologist, hopefully you are going to somebody who is really truly proficient at knowing that your soul is the conduit from your spirit to your body and will treat it as such. If they're giving you drugs and different things, though, you need to understand that you are sent to a pharmacy with a prescription. A prescription, once again, is somebody giving you something but saying you must give up something in return. You can get better, so to speak, maybe in one area, but you will end up having all the side effects. That's prescription, right? And then to have what? And I'm sorry, they send you to the pharmacy, which literally is a place where they believe that witches are able to go ahead and give you and administer these things. Now, if you say you believe in the Bible, and I'm sorry, how you doing? Is it Kathy and Connor? Or sorry, Kathy and Connie, excuse me, right? If you believe in the Bible, or even if you don't, but you just never heard these words before because you just go, when somebody tells you, you don't, right? Not when somebody teaches you, when somebody tells you, you just assume that it's there. And somebody says, hey, I have a PhD, or I have a master's, or I have a baccalaureate, or I've been alive longer than you, so you should just go with whatever I say. But if you actually want to go over what these words are, we can see that something is problematic here because we know what pharmakia is. And we should go by something called the law of first mention. It's interesting that everybody talks about all these things apologetically, which if you don't know what that is, basically in debate or the art of defending that which you believe. Everybody will speak on these things, but not talk about the belief system behind it. Right? Well, see, everybody says it's become that, but psyche was always the soul, and soul is the psyche, right? And soul is supposed to be a seat of where you have deep-rooted thought and go into the spiritual and the physical and be able to see things and ascertain things in a certain way. It always was. But now somebody says, say it's the mind. Now, the word mind is actually another term, pneuma, or pneumatical. Pneuma actually means stoic thought that marries the soul, the body, and the spirit together. So the psyche is in, according to the Greek thought process, at least the Greek words a person is using, the psyche is in your mind because your mind is supposed to be your soul, your body, and spirit all together. So your soul, your psyche, is something that's, of course, in the mind because your mind, see, watch this, your mind is different than your brain. Your brain is a physical space that does specific physical things, right? But your mind is not the same as your brain. You don't brain your manners, you mind your manners, right? If you think with your brain, you're thinking with your flesh, which you should, because all three are supposed to work together as one. You are soul, spirit, and body together. But when you think with your brain, you're thinking with your flesh. When you think with your mind, you're talking about holy or holistic, whole thought, one thought that is working together as soul, body, and spirit. This is not according to Kofi, right? This is not according to Kofi. This is according to actual etymology. And by the way, if you're going, a lot of persons don't recognize this, but because you're very Greco-Roman, right? You know, you're still in Rome and you've been taught when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So if you're Greco-Roman in the mind, you must recognize that you've been taught to be Greco-Roman and to walk as your Greco-Roman and to live as your Greco-Roman and to have prescriptions as a Greco-Roman and to go to the pharmacy as a Greco-Roman and to, like, a lot of persons don't know, when you go and you get a jab of any kind from the doctor, and the jab comes from the pharmacy. right? The jab, the medicine, so to speak, that's in there, it comes from Pharmakia. And when they deliver it to you, they never show you the wrapper, but you know how you get the medicine, and on the medicine it's supposed to tell you all the things and the side effects and all that stuff. You're supposed to see that stuff before they jab you. And a lot of you would be surprised about the side effects that come with all the stuff that they're just putting into you, but you have not been taught to say, hey, before you put that in me, I have the right, according to the Nuremberg codes, right, to protect persons so that you don't experiment on us like you did the Jewish persons, the Jewish people. I have the right to say, time out. Let me read what's on there. Let me see the side effects, and let me see stuff that's on there. We don't know this because in witchcraft, the witchcraft is hidden from you to the point to where you. Matter of fact, a lot of you would take the pills, and you want the person behind the counter to tell you all the stuff, and then you don't even read it for yourself. You want the doctor to tell you the stuff, hoping that the doctor will get it right, or that the doctor's not getting paid more money to make sure that they give you certain prescriptions, right? The doctor's not looking at your insurance, the hospital's not looking at your insurance and going, oh yeah, they can afford that one, let's give them that one, right? You know, and it might not even be as great as what everybody says it is, right? Some of you can't wait to be prescribed. I don't know, persons don't do Viagra as much anymore. What is it, Blue Chew and all that? The only reason why you even use that stuff, brothers, and whatever the female versions are, forgive me, I'm not a female, and I don't use either one, to be honest. But you know, I'm not a female. I don't know what they call yours or what the version of yours is, or if it's Cialis for men and Cialis for women. I don't know. That being said, the reason why that even is there is because supposedly they were trying to figure out how to make sure that they could help you with blood flow, right, and help with blood pressure and help with different things, trying to come up with a medication for that. And obviously, if you do something, or no, I'm sorry, it wasn't even for that, it was something else, but it caused blood to flow, right, at a rate that they weren't prepared for. And when it started to, the side effect, the pharmakia, the witchcraft, right, crafting something, and the prescription, you got to give up something to get something. Well, the side effect of the blood flow in men causes what? It causes an erection. It wasn't amazing science that got you there. It was, oh, okay, so now that we see that that happens, we'll sell it as this. But now there's all types of side effects that come with it because it wasn't even created for that. It was created for something else. But now that we see we can make a buck off it, right? It's like chlorine. Chlorine's in your water. Chlorine's in your toothpaste. Chlorine's in all this different stuff that you're using. And everybody says, well, you know, this and that. Chlorine was a buildup of a whole bunch of chemicals that they had in certain factories, and they were trying to figure out, hey, how can we go ahead and sell this to persons? We know, we come up with something, we'll just say it cleans, and that's cool. But basically, if you're using chlorine, you're using bleach, right? If you're using fluoride, right, fluoride's not the best thing for you, that same thing. If you're using chlorine, you're using bleach. So when you drink your water, or when you go swimming in the pool, when you go swimming in a pool full of chlorine, you're going swimming in a pool of bleach. Does it make sense that you should take a bath in bleach? And I'm not trying to dismiss anything. I'm not saying you can't go swimming anymore and stuff like that. But you should know the pharmakia, or the witchcraft. That's what pharmakia means. That's what pharmacy means. It's witchcraft. And in our culture, we know that witches don't deserve life. Matter of fact, witches don't deserve life because they don't give life. Now, once again, we read Revelation. Our focal verses for today are Revelation chapter 18, verses 23 and 24. I want to go back and read those real quick. That's right. That's very true. The skin is the largest organ, and it does this, right? So I want to show you something. Revelation 18, 23 and 24. It says, "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee." I need you to catch this. First of all, who is the light of the world? You said only a witch would say that? Oh, I mean, I guess that's funny. Kind of trash. But, or maybe you didn't mean it the way I think you did. But watch this. Who is the light of the world? That's the context. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? Shabbat Shalom to everybody coming in. Yahashua, our Messiah, Mashiach, Christ, right? He is the light of the world. Who also is supposed to be a light, according to the Sermon on the Mount? Christ is the light of the world, John chapter 1. According to Matthew chapter 5, who else? Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16 to be exact. Who else is the light? We are supposed to be, right? How you doing, Sister Tina? How you doing, Sister Sheena? Now, when I say we, we're talking about believers. We're talking about kingdom. We're talking about where heaven meets earth. We're talking about persons who have the kingdom of heaven in them. Okay? We're talking about a particular group, a particular family that has the same belief system. Is somebody out there going to try? I don't know. See, this is why I had to make it a point to say that the Bible's not written for everybody, and it's not written to everybody. And before somebody says that's not true, it's for everyone. No, no, no. Revelation chapter 1 tells you that revelation is not even everybody's revelation. Matter of fact, revelation is not your revelation. Revelation chapter 1 verse 1 tells us that it's a revelation of Christ given to him by Elohim. And Revelation chapter 1 verse 3 tells us that we must hearken to it. We must listen to it. We must obey what Christ has, and he must be our Lord in order for revelation to be something that applies to you. That's why in the Greek it has the term apocalypse, and that's why in the Hebrew it is the term chazan, or in English you would call it revelation. You think that means revelation, but that's actually revelation. To revel means to rejoice. And to put a T-I-O-N on the word actually makes it a noun, a person, place, or thing. This means that I as a person, right, can revel, can rejoice when others read it and they look at it as apocalypse and they are afraid of it. Because for me, I rejoice knowing what's going to happen with me. But somebody else who reads it, they have to throw it away or are afraid of it if it actually has any value or truth to them, because they recognize that they are off track. Right? That's right. We are a city on a hill that cannot be hidden. What sense does it make to take your light and snuff it out? But see, it's saying something here. So now that we got that, watch this. It says, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. Ooh. So the light can't shine. Okay. And the voice of the bridegroom, the voice, right? Our husband, Yehoshua, says he hears our voice. Right? He hears, or I'm sorry, we hear his voice, excuse me. Right? He says, my sheep know my voice. So it says the voice or the word, the law, right, of the bridegroom and of the bride. So the voice of not only Yehoshua, but the voice of those of us who are married to him in the spirit, right? How you doing, Sister Kia? The voice of the truth, it says, shall be heard no more at all in thee. Who is thee? Thee is the world. Watch this. Thee is Babylon. If you actually read Revelation chapter 18, you'll discover that Babylon. Now, if you're saying, well, you've been talking about Greece and Rome. Well, yes, that's why we talked about even in the series earlier. Once again, this series is called Reversing the Curse, means revisiting the lie. And the lie we're focusing on today is Pharmakia. If you go back in our playlist and you look earlier when we were talking about Daniel, right? I believe it was in the Q&A session, one of our Q&A sessions so far. If you were to go back and look at what it's talking about with Daniel, right? I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it. Cyril Luke Menard? I'm not even sure if I'm even in the ballpark. Welcome. Thanks for being on with us, right? And thank you for sharing a lot. So you have to recognize Daniel chapter 2, there's a statue. The gold is Babylon. The silver is the Medo-Persian Empire, the Lesser Empire. After that is the bronze, the Greeks. After that is iron, the Rome, and then iron mixed with clay, but what we now call today Christianity. And even though it's not necessarily only Christianity, Christianity is the main culprit of the iron mixed with clay. Right? We see that happening. You see that right before us. How you doing, Larry? So you see what I'm saying? All those things are there. How you doing, Sister Tamika? Okay. So all those things are there. So if you are, so you must comprehend the statue, by the way, is a statue of one man. Different parts of him made out of different things, which means that no matter which empire has been running the world, running the system, technically it's been the one man or one being behind it. And who is that being? Satan, the devil. Okay? So Babylon, in Revelation chapter 18, it's telling us Babylon not only will fall, but she must fall. Babylon also likened to a harlot, right? Babylon selling herself out, or giving pieces, or will do anything, or will do anything as long as you're willing to sell enough of yourself, whatever the price is. You give enough of the price, they'll give you what you need for a fleeting moment. but then you'll end up dead. And if you don't comprehend that part, if you look at the beast when it's introduced, when the harlot is on top of it, remember the beast is introduced as one thing without all the blood and stuff on it, but it's also introduced as looking like it's scarlet, right? And that's the blood. And they're saying that there's a bunch of men who have done everything they can to get to the top of the beast or the top of the government, right, to get to certain positions. But ultimately, when they get a taste of the harlot, after that, they end up dead. You said no? Okay. Well, instead of just saying no, bro, tell me specifically what's there, because no, bro, doesn't win an argument. No, bro, doesn't win an argument. It doesn't mean that you actually know what you're talking about. That homonym doesn't do anything, right? But right? You said Babylon means confusion. Actually, it's interesting. If you're talking about Babel, which is you're talking about the Tower of Babel, as persons call it today, the Babel itself does not actually mean confusion, right? Babel is known as the place. If you look up the actual meaning of it, Babel to Babel does not even, right? We call it Babel now, but the word Babel actually means a place where, I guess the closest definition, or a real quick, easy definition that I can just give topically is Babel is actually saying a place where unrighteous beliefs that conflict with righteousness stayed, right? The confusion, later on, Yah would confuse the language, right? And so persons have a nickname now, if you will, right? We call it, or I don't know if you call it a nickname, but you get what I'm saying. We have a term that we use where we call it babbling, but the reality is that that's not what that is. Now, one of the reasons you also do that too, just real quick, is because a lot of persons don't know that a barbarian, right, is not necessarily a person who's always considered to be what you guys think as far as mean and gross and smelly and unrefined and all that and uncouth. A barbarian actually is considered to be one that doesn't speak your language. So the Greeks and the Romans, if they conquered somebody and the person didn't speak like them, instead of saying, oh man, this person was talking, they were like blah, 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 right? Instead of saying that, they would say, oh, this person was speaking, I can understand it. It was like bar, 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 bar. That over time has become ba, 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 all right? And somehow, some way has made its way into, oh, that's what Babel means. But that's not what Babel actually means. Babel, the places there, actually has to do more so with conflicting beliefs, right? That cause that, right? And then those conflicting beliefs that were being built together in a tower that also went against the Most High, then the Most High confounded. Matter of fact, I believe it says he confounded, not even confused their language, although it was confusing for them. He confounded their language. How you doing, Michael? So different contexts. How you doing, Sister Beck? So, but in all those different things, and how you doing, Joseph? And all those different things. So today we're focused on Pharmakia. The series that we're in is actually called Reversing the Curse, means revisiting the lie. And so the lie that many persons have been told is that the pharmacy is where you're supposed to go. Prescriptions are what you're supposed to receive, right? And having medication that's actually not natural is what you're supposed to receive. Although anytime you change, right, because that's what they're doing, by the way, if you don't know, when they're giving you this medication, anytime that you focus on something or start changing isotopes or start messing with cellular structure, right, or start creating compounds, whenever you do that, you have to also remove something. This is why there's something called side effects. Now, I'm not sure if everybody will comprehend this. This is the best way I like to describe it. If I have something, right, if I have something that's whole, that's alive, that's one, right? If I have something that's whole and I take a piece or a chunk of it off, right, and I give it to you, and I say, hey, I took a piece of it off because I don't want this part on it. I only wanted to focus on healing this one thing. When I take a piece off of a whole structure, what happens in nature is as soon as I've changed it, I also have what's called a side effect. The way I like to describe it is, imagine I take off a piece of what's on the side, right? Hopefully I don't, you know what, I'm not gonna do that because I might mess up our signal. But if I take off the piece on the side, it would leave a hole. So even though I'm saying I took off the piece and I added other things, but I still am leaving it unwhole because I wanted to focus on just this one thing in your body, once I do that, there's a hole in the side. Therefore, there's a side effect, right? If I genetically modify something, right, then I'm saying I'm not giving it to you whole. For example, if I give you, um, all right, let's say I want to heal a woman's going through issues in her breast cancer, right? Let's say a woman has breast cancer. One of the best things you can give her, not the only thing, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a herbalist, my wife is, I am not, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm playing one on TV, right? But if you are a sister and you as a sister, you have breast cancer, let's say we want to deal with the breast cancer. One of the best things that you can do is make sure somebody has citrus. Citrus not only helps to develop the breast, develop mammary glands, it also, by the way, if you're breastfeeding or at any time in life would like to breastfeed, and even after you finish breastfeeding, you should still make sure you keep up that area, right? Just because you're not using it anymore for baby doesn't mean that you shouldn't make sure it's upkept. One of the best things you can do is have citrus, things like grapefruit, oranges, lemons, limes. Matter of fact, you are what you eat, and usually what you eat looks like you. And if you notice those things that I mentioned, not only on the outside, if you were to cut it in half and put it on somebody's chest, would it look like breast? But if you were to actually flip it and look at the inside out, you would discover that the inside looks like a woman's mammary glands. Right? Now, and this is, by the way, total science. Doctors agree with this, everything I've said so far, that yes, citrus is actually really great for the breast, right? Or the chest, right? It's really great for it. That being said, if I give that to you to medicate that area, right? But let's say I also want to make sure that you're dealing with breast cancer. One of the things, not the only thing, one of the things that can cause cancer, one of the variables, and one of the things that's mentioned as a symptom is that you are not as oxygenated in that area. You don't receive the oxygen necessary. And if you get enough oxygen, a lot of the times your body is going to be able to fight things. And a lot of cells that have issues are usually cells that are having issues because they're receiving 40% or less oxygen than what they're supposed to. So as a whole, right, I should not only just give you the lemon and the lime, I should also make sure that I give you what? I give you something that helps with oxygen. What's something real easy that helps with oxygen? Grapes. They even look like ventricles in the lungs. So we give you lemon and lime. The body is already receiving this and saying, oh, this is citrus. They're getting a heavy amount. Let's put all this stuff in a place that we're weak because your body knows how to think. It will take it and it will say, okay, let's push the items in that direction. And then at the same time, while we're driving everything there, let's make sure we give you some grapes because the grapes are going to help to oxygenate. So therefore, not only will it oxygenate the lungs, but we're pushing it already by having the lemon and the limes heavy citrus is telling it to send everything there. So we're sending oxygen or things that will help with the oxygen to the part of the body that needs the most help. Right? I'll say allegedly, just in case somebody tries to say I'm a super pastor Kofi. All right. Once again, as I said, I'm not a doctor, right? I'm just saying what doctors say. I'm not a herbalist. I'm just telling you what herbalists say. Okay? I'm not a scientist. I'm just telling you what scientists say. All right? So if you have a problem, you might want to find those sources that say that and get with them. But that's what I was going to say next. Unfortunately, how you doing, double OG, triple OG? Unfortunately, what's happened is persons have made this thing seedless. And that's where I was headed. So now, if it's seedless, if you notice, by the way, a lot of men and women, for real, are having issues with what? With procreation, with having the next generation of children, right? And one of the reasons why you are what you eat. So even if I give you all these grapes, and I give you lemon and lime and grapefruit and etc., if I give all those things to you, but it has no seed, we might even do a lot of great things. It won't be holistic enough probably to do exactly what it could do, but we might do a lot of great things in that area. But here's a side effect now. Because you're eating things that lack seed, you'll start having issues with reproduction. And since you're having issues with reproduction, that means the fruit that you're eating also has issues with reproduction. And a lot of persons don't catch this, but if you're all these things that are seedless, they cannot exist without man, interfering. Things were created with the seed because the seed, remember, this is creation, right? On the third day, the earth came up with herb-yielding seed. It doesn't start giving the seed until the sun is created on the fourth day. But the earth was created to take care of itself. Remember, it didn't even rain in the beginning. The first time it rains is with Noah. Before then, as we have a lot of evidence of, water underneath, reservoirs of water underneath, shot up through the ground. Right? So we could eat off the earth, and if we grew things correctly and rotated crops and did all those things. But what happens is you have a spirit that's worship called what? Pharmakia, or pharmacy. Thank you, double OG, triple OG. I see you. You see that? So now you have a spirit of pharmakia, of what? Of witchcraft. And the witchcraft, see, we only think of the witchcraft as they're giving us a medication, but they're drugging you with the food, even the fruit that you eat, or the fruit that you eat, they're drugging that. Because it's what? What is it? Sorry, I have to stop saying that word, or else they're going to shut us down. What is this artificial version of it? It is something that's chemicalized. It doesn't have to be chemicalized by having somebody do weird things in a lab. Persons are doing this stuff right in front of your eyes, right? This is why your bananas, right? Bananas, they don't have seed. If man doesn't interfere, if man stops dealing with stuff, if something were ever to happen where man can't take care of bananas, then bananas, with a lot of your bananas, like 97% of bananas on earth now, would go away. That also means that even though bananas help with potassium, they don't have the same life because they don't have the same seed. They have remnants of seed, but they don't have actual seed. So now, even though you're eating the banana, you have a side effect to where you become what? Seedless. Or you're eating seedlessness into your life. We made tomatoes less seeded so that they're more fleshy, because we love flesh, right? Be careful about these things. These things are more spiritual and more in the mind and more sinister than what we think. But these companies are running it like this, and they're running things. So all you would have to do for a lot of persons, especially we haven't been, we're getting there, but we haven't really been able to get to where we want. Like I said, next year we're gonna have to put our, like you guys saw me come on early today. I'm gonna have, it's not gonna be a thing of talking it anymore, or making excuses, or even all the stuff that's going on. And when I say that life is lifing, and it's been lifing for some months, when I'm talking about health and finances, I told you even with the vehicle and stuff, we went to try and get the vehicle taken care of. I told you we tried to take the vehicle, get taken care of yesterday, and they messed us over there. We still had to get on the road, and we pulled over hours later and be like, hey, this is kind of dangerous. We're going to try and find a place where we are today, and hopefully got enough pennies to rub together. But this system is messed up and all this stuff. But what I'm saying is we have to begin, regardless of what it is, to say we put one foot in front of the other, and we stand on business. And it's not about talking about it anymore. It's about living it, right? Talking the talk don't mean nothing no more if you don't take no steps. How you doing, Jen Peace? How you doing, Ty Baby? Good. Thanks for being part of the community. So back to Revelation. Pharmakia. Yeah, you are what you eat, literally. Back to Revelation. Pharmakia. Pharmacy. It means witchcraft. It means witches. It means those who control. It means those who make things or shift things or manipulate things that you would be under their control. And we don't even think about food being connected to witchcraft. But yes, it is. I'm not here telling you guys to smoke. Hear what I'm saying? Tobacco is not your issue. You can have tobacco all day. Matter of fact, there was a little boy. I'm not going to hold y'all. I've told you I have no problem with telling the truth. I have a tobacco, well, not a tobacco pipe, a pipe, but I have a pipe, and I have natural tobacco that every once in a while I put in there, especially for healing purposes. When we were at Feast of Tabernacles, there was a little boy, little baby boy, about 3 years old, 4 years old, right, running around, got stung by a bee. They found out he was stung by a bee. One of our sisters, I don't know if she wants to be named or not, but one of our sisters comes over. Hey, she knows. Hey, we got somebody stung by a bee. Does anybody have any? Actually, we had a few of us stung by bees during that week, during those 8 days. But she comes over. Hey, does anybody have any tobacco? Oh yeah, I got some. You're right. Take my bag out, take some, give it to her. They put it on there. Next thing you know, baby boy's fine. Tobacco is not your problem. Tobacco is righteous. Tobacco is a healing agent. It's not the tobacco that's causing you this stuff. It's the plexiglass they put in your system. The menthol. How you doing, Brother Jacob? Right? The tobacco is not your problem. Right? Real talk. But they would have you think, oh yeah, they want you to feel bad about tobacco. Tobacco is not your problem. Jellyfish chew. Watch this. There was a guy in Japan. I don't know how long ago this is. Please forgive. I feel like this is a long, long time ago. But there was a guy in Japan. They were out there. They were fishing. He gets. I don't know if he was in the water or the shark jumped up or whatever. But he got bit. I think the shark took like a big chunk of his leg. The only reason he survived is because those persons that were out there with him, they smoke a lot. So they took, even with the poison in it, they took all the cigarettes that they had, and they balled them up, and they put them on the inside of the dude's leg. He lived. The tobacco helped. It helped to clot. The different things that it also does as well as far as healing, right? So the tobacco is not your problem. It's the pharmakia. It's the witchcraft. Yeah, mustard works to heal burns and stuff too, right? It's not the mustard, it's the stuff they putting in the sugar and stuff. Yeah, they put sugar in mustard too. You wouldn't think they would, but they do. It's not the tomato that's your problem. It's not ketchup that's your problem. It's not the ketchup pill that's your problem. It's the sugar in the ketchup, that there's 60-something% sugar and 40-something% ketchup, or 30-something% ketchup, or tomato. That's the spirit of pharmakia, of pharmacy. Matter of fact, not acetaminophen, aspirin. Aspirin is now synthetic. That's why you can't do so much aspirin, and that's why aspirin is starting to off a lot of persons. But aspirin, for real, in its regular form, is a bark of a tree. If you can get the bark of the tree, you have aspirin. You can eat it. You can shave it like cinnamon. You can make a spice out of it, and every once in a while, for those of you who have heart issues, right? For those of you who know, and I know this because I actually am a teacher, as far as first aid CPR, that's right, willow bark, white willow, right? If somebody's having heart issues, somebody having a heart attack, right? One of the first things that I can do is ask them, hey, do you have aspirin? Does anybody have aspirin? Right? Aspirin is not your problem, right? But the pharmakia, the witchcraft of it, the giving you a synthetic version rather than the actual version, that's what's causing persons to have to say, oh yeah, aspirin will kill you. Aspirin is natural. Actual aspirin. Or aspirin is the name of the company now. But white willow bark is something that you should have. How you doing, Sister Mignon? Right? Acetaminophen is the chemicalized version. How you doing, Sister Greta? That's the issue that you're having, beloved. The pharmakia, the witchcraft, the manipulation of it. This is why, so I'm sorry, let's keep on going. So if you're just joining us, by the way, we're using Revelation chapter 18, verses 23 and 24 as focal verses for us today. All praises to the Most High. And we're speaking specifically today, in a series called Reversing the Curse Means Revisiting the Lie. We are being very specific today to deal with the lie of pharmakia or pharmacy. All right. So that's what we're talking about. And how you doing, Tank? And thank y'all for the love. Appreciate you so very much. All right. And how you doing, Larry? Thank y'all for sharing. Thank you for the likes, share, subscriptions, hit notification tabs, donations, things you do behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, etc. Supporting each other in business, all the great things that you do. We appreciate you, especially for your viewership today. So once again, Revelation chapter 18, verse 23, it says, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more shall be heard no more at all in thee. So the Most High's voice shall not be heard. Those who follow the Most High's voice shall not be heard. But then it has in English, and how you doing, Super B? In English, it has something that we call a colon right there. Now, if you guys recall, we talked about this a little bit ago, just in case you're not up on punctuation, not making fun of anybody. Sometimes we're not. Sometimes I have bad days with punctuation and spelling and stuff myself, right? Just saying, just in case you're not with us, the importance of that is that, remember, a semicolon, right? The dot, comma, the semicolon means basically whatever's on one side is affected by what's on the other side and vice versa, right? But the colon, 2 dots, says what? What just came before it, right? Whatever's coming after it only comes out of it. It comes because of what happened, it comes out of it. If it's a semicolon, what's on both sides affects both ways. But because of the colon, it's saying whatever's in the front, whatever we just read, what's coming out of the colon now is a result of what we just read. So as a result of the fact that the light, the word, Yahushua, the truth, has been dimmed to the point to where it cannot be seen, and the voice of Yahushua, the voice of our Messiah, cannot be heard, and the voice of his people cannot be heard, the voice of truth, out of that, it says, what? For thy merchants were great men of the earth. What is a merchant in this particular context? Right? Or in any context, really. A merchant is somebody who basically sells, or a person who also buys, but the person is somebody who is basically a salesperson, if you will, and gives certain product. For example, we have in Scripture, Matthew chapter 13, right, where it says that the kingdom of heaven, one of the many different things that the kingdom of heaven is like, it says that the kingdom of heaven is like unto a merchant man who sold pearls of great value. And when he sold these pearls, right, he being somebody who bought pearls and sold pearls and did all these things, all of a sudden he came across a pearl that was so great, he sold everything that he had just to get that one pearl. Because the kingdom had gotten him to a place where he stopped just selling whatever. He was willing to sell himself. He was willing to sell out, if you will. He was willing to say, I'm all in, right? I'll take the clothes off my body if necessary, because I know as somebody who sells pearls that this pearl, right? And we don't cast pearls before swine. This is the same person who's preaching this also says don't cast pearls before swine. So this person says, man, I look at pearls all day and I know the value of pearls. I'm not swine. I'm not a pig. I'm not somebody who's separate. I know how pearls work. And yet when I saw this pearl, oh man, this pearl was on another level. I'll give up everything it is. It's I think preceded by the kingdom of heaven is like a man who found a treasure hidden in the field, and for the joy of it, he didn't sell everything he had, or he didn't steal the treasure and take it out of place. He sold everything he had to have the land, because if he had ownership of the land, he had ownership of the treasure that was embedded in the land. Right? So here we have going a little bit differently. A merchant man here, right? Or I'm sorry, the merchants of who were great. We just talked about this earlier. And how you doing, Kat? Sorry if I didn't say so earlier. How you doing, Just Another Girl? And thank y'all for the love. Appreciate you. How you doing, Sister Allison? Right? So watch this. What do I think of Palestine? Persons should stop offing children, and persons should make sure that they are in peace, right? And that we should stop giving excuses to both sides, and technically neither side is actually the actual people who we should be actually looking at. Okay. That being said, I'm actually focused on Pharmakia today, right? You say here from New York. So what about the miracle that Christ was performing and prophecy? Is that witchcraft? No, because once again, witchcraft is considered to be what? It's considered to be somebody who does things to control you. Were miracles things done to make sure? Matter of fact, could miracles even be done if persons didn't agree with the one doing the miracle? Right? I guess I'm not trying to get on you. I'm trying to think. I guess, great question. I've never been asked that question before. Interesting question. I'm not saying it's even bad. I'm just contemplating. So a miracle wouldn't be witchcraft. There are some persons who do witchcraft and claim that it's a miracle, but the witchcraft is done to control or to manipulate, and especially to go against the will of the Most High, to manipulate persons. Even in Revelation, since that's the context that we're in, even if we were looking in Revelation where you have two beasts, you have the government that mirrors the devil in the beginning of Revelation 13. You also have the second beast that it says that it sounds like, or it looks like a sheep, or it looks like a sheep, a baby sheep, right? It has horns, the horns of the lamb, but then it also speaks many blasphemies, or it has the sound of a serpent, right? So when you can have a lot of persons say, oh, I got a miracle. A lot of persons, like the devil can perform miracles or can give you something that looks, to you like something you've been waiting for. A lot of persons get trapped with that all the time. Oh, I got a job. I'm so glad I got this job. Yeah, but they're not. Actually, the grass is not green, now that you're on that side. And this and that, but you might get claim to be a miracle. Oh, I got a car. The Most High might not have wanted you to get that car. Did you ask Holy Spirit? Did you make sure that things were in order? Did you get into a worse situation where now you're paying on something? Somebody got you a car, but you're paying on something you can't afford. Right? So the miracle is different, but even the miracles of Christ specifically, the miracles of Christ aren't even performed unless persons agree. Remember, Christ went to his own country, and his own countrymen received him not. And he said there that a prophet is given all this honor everywhere else except for where he's from. Right? So, so yeah, that's different than the wish of Endor, or Pharmakia, which we're talking about today, which is somebody specifically using a lot of these things, changing, manipulating the way our food grows, manipulating the stuff that's being put in your body, manipulating different things that you don't even know are synthetic, and telling you, oh yeah, it's okay. The synthetic is just as great. For example, how many persons, right? And I speak as somebody trying to get myself in order too. How many persons have done stuff in the past like drink diet soda, or you were told that diet soda was something different? You hit the mindset and the miracle where also our ancestors were to manifest the spiritual of healing, or the spirit of healing. Okay, I'm not 100% sure if I understand what you're saying, but I think I get what you're saying. And I'm sorry, all of a sudden there's a bunch of air pressure being given. I didn't know that was going to happen. We'll sit here for a minute. If it keeps going for a long time, I'll try to move. Is the air pressure extremely bad? Is it like, can you guys hear? I might have to move a little bit. Yeah, I might move. It's not that loud. It is loud. Okay, let's do a salah real quick. I don't know. You know what? I don't know how long it's gonna be. We can hear. It's not terrible. Okay. Well, if it's like that, if you say it's not terrible, it's bad. All right. Give me a second, y'all. We're gonna move. We're gonna move down this way. We'll make this a salah. All right. Y'all want to take like a 5-minute break, prayerfully at the moment, and I'll just move over closer to the building, so then that way it should be all right. So just give me a second. We'll move down, and we'll be on. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you for being on. If y'all want to take a couple minutes, or not, if you want to, we have to. It's getting louder now. Well, I'm gonna keep talking about pharmacy. So as far as all the other stuff, once again, we do Q&A every other Thursday and Friday. If you combine both the days together, it lasts for about 3 hours. So if you would like to go ahead and talk about those things, we can definitely talk about those things on that Thursday and Friday for a specific Q&A. Normally, I'd even have longer than what we normally do. We normally have about 3 hours, but unfortunately, I have way. Well, we have like an hour less than that today. Or fortunately, however you look at it, because Ministry Islam will be preaching on our podcast. It starts at about 10 a.m. New York time, so in about an hour. So yeah, so I'm going to focus on finishing up the Pharmakia because we still haven't finished up. So unfortunately, not a Q&A today. But thank you for the questions. Thank you for the concerns. This is talking about something from an actual specific cultural context that is actually a lot more Afrocentric than many persons are probably used to, including persons that are Afrocentric. So even some of the things that are being asked, I can see, are probably coming from a position of being like, oh, well, our ancestors this and blah, blah. I promise you we actually do a lot of stuff concerning our ancestors because we believe in making sure that we actually uphold our culture, language, and all that stuff. So but give me a second. I got to get the rest of the stuff, and we'll get started. Okay, family, thank you for your patience. We should be able to start in a few. Let's see. Get to see behind the scenes of this dynamic setup. Let's see. Okay. All right. My apologies. Starting to get cold out here. Great. Okay. Okay. I think we almost ready. Just about. Once again, my apologies. Sorry. I think we got everything pretty much together. Double check our signal and everything. That I'm not sure of. Let's see. Now I really got the sun on my face. So I apologize. I might not be able to see these comments at all for the rest of the time I'm gonna try. Mic check 1 2. Microphone checker 1 2 checker. Can you hear me? Yes, no, maybe so. It looks like we should be all right. Yes, 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 alrighty. And I'm sorry, how you doing, Sister Kimberly? Who we got? Is it John Joseph French? I don't even know. Yeah, I'm having issue seeing over here. I apologize. I'm gonna try to catch as many comments as I can, but the sun is directly in my face, so I cannot see that well at all right now, at least as far as the screen. Alrighty. Barak Achalam. Washalam Achalam Apara. Alrighty. So, Pharmakia. I'm not exactly sure where we were. Persons were asking all these different questions and stuff. Anyways, I know we were kind of saying we got to focus back in. I'm not exactly sure where I left off, but let's get into. So, oh yeah, we hadn't finished getting through the scripture. So, if you're not aware, we're in the midst of a series we've been doing for a while now called Reversing the Curse Means Revisiting the Lie. We're focusing on Pharmakia, or which you know as pharmacy, and we're in Revelation chapter 18. We were focusing on verses 23 and 24, which are the last two verses of Revelation 18. We had read through a lot of verse 23, and we'll start back up there. And thank you for allowing me to move over. Not only as I was moving, you guys could probably hear, not only did the noise get louder, but then somebody's car alarm, or probably somebody's building alarm or something started going off. So it was time to move anyways. But we're talking about Pharmakia today. And in Revelation chapter 18, in verse 23, we read, "And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom," and I'm not even sure what you guys can and can't see. How you doing, Sister Casey? I think you guys should be able to see me all right. I really can't see what you guys see on the screen right now. But anyways, how's everybody doing? So, where am I at? I mean, I'm always somewhere different, to be honest with you. Where am I at right now is, I forget the city, actually, somewhere in South Carolina. Anyways, the visual's okay? Okay, as long as you guys can see me, I can't see at all. The setup that I have, I make the words bigger so I can step away, so I can't see what you guys can see once I put these words and get them bigger, at least on this platform. So hopefully all is well with the vision and everywhere there. So yeah, so Revelation chapter 18, verse 23, it says that the voice and the light of the Most High will not be able to be seen, nor will his word be able to be heard. And it says, for thy merchants, the merchants of Babylon, the merchants of the beast. Shalom, Minister Samantha Ray, the merchants of the beast, right? The merchant. And we already talked about that, but just real quick. So the light, Yahashua, the Messiah, is the light of the world. Those who are married to him in the spirit, right, are one with him, do what he asks us to do, and produce fruit based off of that. We are supposed to be the light of the world. It doesn't make sense for somebody who is the light to put something over it and snuff out that light or make it dark. What's the point of having a candle or a bulb or whatever the case might be in a room and you can't see the light? You might as well just leave the candle off or not use the candle at all. But it says the world, the word world also in the Greek context as well, the word world meaning cosmos with a K, which means it's talking about a system. So the system dims the light, and it says here specifically, this Babylonian system, this demonic system, this system that's against truth, this system that makes it harder for us to live righteously. It says that this system uplifts things that cause us to have light, including its merchants, the ones who sell, right? The ones who sell this stuff, the ones who perform these different things, the ones who put these commercials up, the ones who add these commercials to where it says, oh, buy such and such because it'll help, that's designed to help you, and you see somebody that help you with heart issues, and you see somebody riding a bicycle, and you go, I'd like to ride the bicycle like them. It's been so long since I could ride a bike. Oh, wow, I'd like to be able to have relations with my wife. It's been so long since I've been able to, right? And so you see that, and then at the end it says, call it really, really fast. Of course, they say it really quickly, but it says, causes sleepiness, drowsiness, causes death, causes anal leakage and stuff. And you're like, whoa, time out, what happened? Right? But these are the merchants, which once again give you this trade-off in this witchcraft, in Pharmakia, in the prescription. Remember the word prescription, to prescribe. Yeah, I know, it is what it is. But thank you so much. Is that all you got? You need something that's just going to make me feel worse about myself. Matter of fact, there's not anything you can do to make me feel worse about myself, because I don't feel worse. I don't feel bad. I love me some me. And even if right now I'm dealing with me, it's okay. I love every inch of it, and I love it enough to make sure that I bring it into subjection. That being said, thank you for the reminder. Persons like you that remind me that you have nothing of value to say, so all you can try and attack is something that makes you feel like you're okay. Hopefully you're okay. No, I won't even reverse it on you. I'm going to be the mirror. I'm going to reflect what it is that you need to see. See, didn't we say that last night? I am a mirror. Realize that you're a mirror. And when you're holy and you're doing what you're supposed to do, somebody can't stand themselves when they look at you. They tell on themselves. And thank you for telling on yourself, because it tells me that I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Right? I genuinely have the love of Yah for you, because he teaches me to love my enemies. Right? And how you doing, honey? Thanks for being part of the community. So, and all these different things that we're talking about, right? For thy merchants, there are persons who make money off of this. There are persons who are selling their soul, but not only selling their soul, they're taking your soul and selling you out so that they can make a buck. Right? There was not too long ago, I know everybody is probably familiar with this one, right? Everybody was talking about Charlie Kirk and everything. What about before Charlie Kirk? You remember that there was a merchant of death who died. And I'm not trying to be like Drago. If he dies, he dies. I'm just being honest with you. There was a merchant of death who sold death and he reaped it. You guys recall that? Everybody was looking for the person who did it. They finally found it. They had it on recording. The CEO of a big drug company was just walking down the street, thought everything was all right. He was getting ready to go ahead, get out his car, go ahead and talk about how they were going to keep a live person to die so that they could make a bunch of money off of it. Somebody stepped behind him with that weapon. Pew pew. And the first thing that everybody, first of all, the first thing everybody was hoping for was that the person who shot him looked different. When that didn't happen, right, then they had to make sure that they villainized anything. By the way, I'm not here to say, once again, this is not a call to arms. saying get ready to off everybody, but this is the reality, is that these persons sow death. They sow death, and then when they reap death, for some reason, we're supposed to pretend that because they've died, we should forget that they sowed death, that they were in the Pharmakia. Anybody in here who's dealt with insurance before, that's just about everybody who's listening to me. Anybody in here who's dealt with insurance before, guess what you had to deal with? A lot of persons die because the pharmacy actually makes you dependent on this stuff rather than healing you. And then once you can't pay anymore, they go ahead and say, you know what, we've got enough out of you. Who cares if you die? That person didn't think that anybody would be able to get close enough to it. And somebody found a way. Now, once again, I'm not celebrating this. It should not be celebrated. It should not be celebrated. I'm not celebrating. I'm bringing it to your attention. Because here's what the word says. It says these merchants, Revelation chapter 18, verse 23, thy merchants, the merchants of Babylon, who have taken the light out. See, I want you to comprehend this. The merchants of Babylon, the merchants of the beast, the merchants of the Satan. You said they covered your dad's death more than they helped you deal. Yeah, helped them to heal, exactly, right? How you doing, Buffalo? It says their merchants were great men of the earth. Not great men. Great men of the earth. Arat, assassin, earth. They were great men of the earth, of the world, of the system, of the flesh. They became great by making sure that they not only became witches, but they made sure that they upheld witches. They made sure that they used medicine to use witchcraft. And they didn't care how many persons lost their lives. They became who they became because of your blood and your people's blood. How many people, see, watch this. We be acting like all of them just disappeared. How many SS, or as you call them today, how many Nazis, thank you for the repost, how many SS or how many Nazis, real talk, how many SS or how many so-called Nazis didn't die, weren't offed, didn't go into hiding in Argentina, but are right in England, and still in Germany, and still in France, and living in France, and living in the United States of America, and living in Canada, and living in Mexico, because these persons were so great at making money off of death that these nations said, we need you to help us make money off of death. Operation Paperclip. If you don't know what that is, just look that up. But how many of them became great? They were merchants of death. See, you were lied to, and you were told that the American dream came because persons did hard work, and they went to school. A lot of these cats offed persons. Hey, do you not know that gynecology, women who ate the cold thing they put up in you, spread you out? Did you forget? Did you forget that when they did those things, they were doing those to slave women? In the name of science, in the name of medicine. And they were using all types of unmentionable things, carving them up, cutting them up, putting wood in them, splinters all inside, and saying that they didn't feel pain. How many gynecologists stand on the shoulders of them? See, now once again, can I say something? See, because this is like the same thing. If color gets mentioned or anything, somebody says, I didn't do that. I wasn't there. Okay, cool. I'm not saying you created the system, right? For example, I'm not Jeff Bezos, but I used to do a lot of side hustle work, even though technically I did so much of it was like a double shift. But I used to do a lot of side hustle work in warehouses and stuff for Amazon. And when I was in Amazon, I saw a lot of stuff, and I saw certain things, and I sent certain things, and I did a lot of stuff. And as much as I want to act like, yeah, you know what, I'm separate from it, I just work, I just get a paycheck at the end of the day, let's be honest. If there's things that I saw And there's things that I know that I was doing, things I know I was sending, and things that because I got to see some stuff behind some of them closed doors in certain places to see how some of those things work. If I know that I'm part of that stuff or whatever, or I saw part of it, guess what I got to say? Hey man, you know what? I realized I was part of it. Maybe I even tried to make excuses for it. It's wrong. And if just because Jeff Bezos might have been the person that was putting money in my pocket, doesn't mean that if he doesn't do wrong, or that if he does wrong, that I shouldn't say, hey, he's wrong. Right? If my father did bad things or whatever, and all of a sudden, and he's much better than what he used to be, and he was always a great man anyways, just persons have different things to go through. But if my father ever does something wrong, and I find out that he does it, and I know it's a generational curse, I need to correct it within myself. Does that mean that, right? So can I say, yes, I wasn't my father for sure, but should I also make sure that I stop the curse? Okay. So I'm saying all that to say, look, yes, there are a lot of persons who are doing this stuff and might not know it, or some of them that are in it. Some of them, even if they know this to be true, they're not going to start giving the truth. They're not going to start making sure persons are actually healed. They're not going to do, matter of fact, by law, if you're going to work as a doctor, a lot of doctors are not even allowed to use the word heal. You know that, right? Like in a lot of places, they're not even allowed to say that they can heal you, because that's not the goal to heal you. The goal is to treat you. The goal is to examine you. The goal is to practice upon you. Hence the term practitioner. Their responsibility is not to practice until you get well. Their responsibility is to practice. Yes, and the Hippocratic Oath, there's actually a couple different versions of it, but the Hippocratic Oath leads to hypocrisy. Because the system is not to heal. The system is not to make us better. So I'm saying all that to say, fine, for those of you who are nurses, keep nursing. For those of you that are doctors, keep doctoring, keep all this stuff. But what I'm saying is let's be honest about the system and what it's built upon. Gynecologists, right, including what you saw, like not just an OBGYN, but including y'all saw that sister not too long ago that was sitting there, and she was literally about to have a baby come out of her, and the woman doesn't care about it because guess what? The gynecologists are trained just like nurses are trained that women of color don't feel pain the more color that they have. The system is based off of it. She might not even, in her mind, have done anything wrong, but the system teaches her to treat her like that. The coding, the person who's doing the coding, that's what the woman was doing. She's doing the coding. She's not even allowed to let the woman go back there until she says, hey, can you even afford to have a baby? Think about that. Can you pay to have a baby? Well, they're going to do everything wrong because you're not even supposed to have a baby laying on your back. If anything, you should squat down into a squatting stool. That's why you're supposed to use the same muscles. If you don't know this, as sisters, even though obviously there's a lot of pain, I'm not a woman, never had a baby, I'm just going off of what I've been told, right? A lot of sisters will even tell you they feel pressure as if they need to release something, like almost like they're using the bathroom. There have been some women who didn't even know they were pregnant, ended up having a baby in the toilet, and just felt like they had to have an extreme number 2. And if you know how a woman's body is designed, she's supposed to have the fecal matter. Once again, here's Pharmakia changing stuff up, but they'll make sure that you fast, but you're actually supposed to have stool come out, touch the baby, so that the baby's immune system begins to work. This is why many babies end up being put on all this weird Motrin and acetaminophen and all this stuff early in age, and then they get to a place where they start having seizures when they get older, or they start having brain issues because they don't know how to fight disease. You worked in billing before, yeah. The money is to get everything out. How is it that all the sisters, why? Not even how. Why is it that they tell you have to make sure that you check your receipts? Why should you check your receipts when you go into a hospital? What is the receipt for? You got to get an itemized receipt because they charge you for stuff that you didn't even get, and then come to find out, oh wait a minute, they charged me $350 for a blanket. They charged me $200, for walking fees. They charged me $2,000 for my baby to latch on. Do you even need Pharmakia for that? Do you need a hospital for a baby to be born and to latch on? Have you guys even heard of a birthing stool? Do you guys know that the only reason you lay on your back, see, once again, people talk about belief systems and all that. Here's a lie. The belief system, you ready? The belief system that they teach you and I is not only crazy work, but watch this. The belief system is so messed up because we don't even know the reason you lay on your back to have a child is because there was a French king that had a fetish for watching babies being born. I'm not making that up. That's disgusting. I know, sisters. A lot of y'all don't even think that you're beautiful, even though you are. But you don't even think you're beautiful when you're walking around pregnant, and you think that it's repugnant if any guy would come up to you and give you a compliment, right? Sometimes don't even want to look in the mirror. But real talk, there was a French king, look it up for yourself, who had a fetish with women giving birth, and he had them start laying on their back so he could go ahead and watch. That is the reason why you give birth on your back today. Outside of that, everybody always gave birth, or every woman always gave birth squatting. Matter of fact, sisters, when your water broke, was your first, I want you, matter of fact, when you were sleeping, right? Sisters, when you used to sleep and you were pregnant, did you ever want to sleep on your back? And how you doing, C3 Constructions? Thank you for sharing, and thank everybody for being on all the different platforms. Sisters, when you were pregnant, did you ever want to sleep on your back? Or did you buy pillows, whether it was the 9 or the 6 pillow or all this stuff, and you find ways and you put stuff between your legs and you be on your side? How you doing, Sister Sherry? Right? Of course, you'd be on your side, because and if you were on your back, would it put pressure on that? Matter of fact, you loved it if somebody knew enough to come behind you and lift up your belly and take some of the pressure off your spine, because your spine was always being worked. You're carrying a whole other human being in the inside of you, technically 2 of them, because you're carrying the placenta, which is going to give its life, if allowed to go ahead and give its life until it finally ends, and then the umbilical cord falls off by itself. Once again, witchcraft tells you otherwise and charges you for it. Sisters, when your water broke, was your first inclination to go on your back and lift your legs up? Or when your water broke, did you go, ah? Right? When your water broke, did you go, ah? Hold your back, squat down. Right? You squatted. Hey, sisters, even when you were laying down and you were giving birth, guess what you did? Guess what you did? 90% of y'all did this at least. Right? 99% of y'all, probably 100%, but I'm not. But watch this. When you were on your back, and they had you on your back, and they had your legs up and everything, and you were holding somebody's hand, hopefully a husband's hand, you were holding, and they said push. When you pushed, you didn't go, ah! What did you do? Ah! You still tried to squat. You still tried to go forward. You still tried to put your upper body towards the front. Why? Because that's natural. That's the way you were created. Pharmakia, witchcraft says otherwise. They messed us up so bad. And somehow, some way, we think it's right. Matter of fact, more women now are going away from vaginal birth, right, and having C-sections, not because they even need it, but because it's something to keep their body intact, and they want their vagina to look, as perfect as possible. As if what Yah's will is for you is not perfect. I'm not saying there's never a need for a C-section, right? But let's be honest. A lot of doctors are giving you C-sections because it's part of that itemized receipt. It's gotten so bad in places in South America, some places in South America, where there are doctors who don't even know how to be part of natural birth. Y'all think I be making stuff up? Look it up. There are doctors in South America who are having issues because there are women who are asking for natural birth, and they're like, why would you want a natural birth? Pharmakia. Witchcraft. It's seeped in so much. All right. Holy Spirit said, let's go. Whoever that was for is for. You got it. Now, Revelation chapter 18, verse 23. For thy merchants, the ones who were merchants of death, who make money off of you never being what Yah wants you to be, never being whole, never being healed, always being sick, your children being born into this stuff. Right? For thy merchants were great men of the earth, for by the Babylonian, by the demonic what? Sorceries were all nations deceived. The word sorcery, once again, is the term pharmakia, pharmacy, witchcraft, and even the spirit of witchcraft. That's what pharmakia is. All nations were deceived. There's a few ways we can look at that as well. You ready? It's not just all nations were deceived, even as far as it makes you sick, but if you get sick in the brain, is it possible for you to be sick in the mind? could be Chrissy. And prayerfully, praying for you. I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Seriously, sorry. I hope that you get better a little bit every day, right? Um, but yeah, um, that these persons are doing these things, and some of them are what we call ignorant. That's why I said we say all the time, if the shoe fits weird, if it doesn't, take it off, right? I'm 6'5.5". If somebody comes to me with a size 2 shoe and they say, Pastor Kofi, I think this would look nice on you, I say, you're out your mind. I'm not going to wear it. Okay? No shade, but you're out your mind. I'm 6'5.5". If I got size 2 feet, I got problems, right? You might not want to get me size 2. I wear shoes that fit me. So if the shoe fits weird, if it doesn't, take it off. It's not saying every single person who's ever done anything or ever blah blah, or if you've ever lied, you're eating. No. You be held accountable for what you know, and even if you did know better, there's something called repentance, there's something called forgiveness, and Yah will forgive you as far as your sins are from the east from the west. It's not to make anybody feel guilty. This is to have honest dialogue and help us to see what the Word has been warning us about for thousands of years. And we're right in the middle of it, and we can't see it. I'm sorry, what you say? Oh, hey, how you doing, Money Green? The doctor tells you to push because if you're having a bowel movement. He said you have a midwife. She came and changed everything. She got you off your back immediately. Yeah. Said your grandmother was a midwife in Central America. She made her patients squat. Yeah. Matter of fact, they make you walk back and forth. Even, by the way, after you had a baby, they like for you to walk. Technically, sisters, especially if you plan on having a baby, start doing squats. You'd be surprised. And by the way, just a real quick aside, it's called prenatal vitamins for a reason. Okay? It's called prenatal vitamins. Before you go through the natal stuff, pre. So you should already be up on your vitamins. You should already be on that stuff. The reason you're getting sick is not because it's natural. You're getting sick because the baby is eating off of you, and you don't have, and because the baby is basically doing what. I'm not trying to call your baby this. I'm just saying, but if your baby was not bacteria, I guess a symbiote, but that's not the term I'm actually looking for. It's a symbiote. I don't know, a vampire. That's not what I'm looking for. What about? Will somebody help me out? What's the proper? Thank you. Parasite. The baby is actually your body. Would if your brain didn't send signals to the egg once the sperm hit it, your body would try to attack the baby. So rather than attacking the baby, your body sends signals that, hey, it's okay for this baby, because your body otherwise would think it's a parasite, right? So you make sure that you have vitamins and stuff in place, because your baby's going to take. Your baby is very selfish, as it should be, very self-centered, as it should be at that moment in time. It's growing and it's trying to grow into something. It's trying to survive. It's trying to learn. It's trying to do all these different functions, and it's going to be doing this for a long time. So it's going to take residence up in you. This is why some women lose their teeth, some women lose their hair, and stuff like that. You start throwing up, you start vomiting, because you kind of have an illness inside of you, right? If anything else was in you doing this, we would say that's a problem. If anything else was causing your teeth to fall out, because it's eating, the calcium and stuff from your body. That's why you got to be up on calcium. You got to be up on magnesium, especially magnesium, right? Especially magnesium. That's why some of you wanted to eat dirt, because a lot of food that comes out of the dirt. Have you ever thought about that, sisters? How many sisters, just real quick aside, how many of y'all ever, when you were going through the process, how many of you actually wanted to eat dirt? Anybody ever go through that? I know a lot of women do, a lot more than you would think. Never ate dirt before, or maybe you did when you were a little child and forgot. But how many of you, how many sisters, if you did go through that, that's because the fruit is not even a lot of times grown in the dirt anymore. You'd be surprised. So you eating stuff that's supposed to have a lot of nutrients from the ground. So you want the minerals from the earth. You're made out of earth. Your baby's going to be therefore made out of earth. But you are eating things that supposedly come from the earth, and they're not real. So when you're feeding for this stuff, right? When you're going through that, you want the earth. You said your friend always wanted red clay dirt. Yeah, that's a natural thing, right? Reversing the curse means revisiting the lie. Our children aren't even getting, everything they need, and mothers aren't even getting everything they need because they lying to you from the jump. And you don't need prenatal vitamins once you get pregnant. you need to keep taking vitamins. By the way, vitamin just means minerals. So you should always have vitamin minerals. But if you, especially if you're planning on giving birth, before you do, make sure you're already taking your minerals. Right? They call it prenatal vitamins, yeah, and they're actually right on that. But then they say, oh yeah, make sure you're taking prenatal vitamins and blah blah. Some of them are actually honest and say, hey, if you're sick and you go to gynecology and stuff like that, they'll say, oh, you need prenatal vitamins. But really, prenatal vitamins are the vitamins that you should be having. So, right? But yeah, so pharmakia, pharmacy, witchcraft has messed us up. We don't even know. We don't even know it to be witchcraft anymore. We really don't. We don't even know it to be witchcraft anymore. We're really that unaware. We think that this stuff is natural. You think, right? Like I was. That's what I was on earlier too. Those of you who've done diet soda before, your body doesn't know how to even digest a lot of it because the fake sugar is not real. So it tricks the brain and it tricks the tongue into thinking that you have sugar. But then you have little enzymes that come that are supposed to digest sugar specifically. And they come looking for the sugar, and when they see that it's not sugar but it's something else, the enzymes turn and go away, which means the fake sugar just sits. And although eventually over time it'll get washed away by blood and other things, it's not supposed to be there. So this is why diet soda messes us up. But we were told to drink diet soda because we're on a diet. How you doing, Sister Sarah? So, yeah. So back to Revelation chapter 18, verse 23. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom, the voice of those who are married to Christ, and I'm sorry, the voice of the bridegroom of Christ, and the bride, those who are married to Christ, shall be heard no more at all in thee, and all in Babylon, right? Because thy merchants, the merchants of death, became great men on the earth, for by the sorceries, by the pharmakia, by the pharmacy, were all nations deceived. Another way we can look at this, beloved, is if it's messing with your brain, it's messing with your mind. It's messing with your spirit, your soul, and your body simultaneously. Can we say that again? I'm gonna say it one more again for the people in the back. Persons be thinking this stuff is out of pocket and doesn't make sense. I'm trying to show you something. Right? We're trying to help you. Hopefully you're catching this. Right? A lot of persons aren't catching this. Let me help you out. Right? Pharmakia, sorcery, talked about specifically. Revelation chapter 18, verse 23. And if it messes with your brain, it messes with your mind. If it messes with your heart, it messes with your mind. If it messes with your feet, it messes with your mind. If it messes with your eyesight, it messes with your mind. What does mind mean again? It is pneuma, pneumatical thought that marries the soul, the spirit, and the body together. Okay? I want to repeat that one more time just for the people in the back. Again, if it messes with your brain, it messes with your mind. If it messes with your heart, it messes with your mind. If it messes with your feet, it messes with your mind. If it messes with your eyes, it messes with your mind. Pharmakia, Revelation chapter 18, verse 23 tells us to be careful that persons became great on the planet because they were into witchcraft. They manipulated your food. They have manipulated your so-called medicine. They have manipulated your mind. They have manipulated your soul. They have manipulated your heart. They have gotten you to believe in these things, and you will fight harder to uplift and upkeep these things that are off in you than you will to make sure that you keep things natural the way the Most High created them to be. They will argue with persons because of your degree. You have a right to argue for these things. So you think. This is one of the biggest problems that we have as a people. Can we be honest? One of the biggest problems that we have as a people is what? One of the biggest problems that we have as a people is the way we think. How you doing, Sister Tuckwa? The way we think is affected by medication. You think that your thinking is not affected by some of this medication and you're told not to operate heavy machinery? If you can't operate heavy machinery, you think that you can go through extreme psychological evaluation of what you're going through in life? Oh, this stuff got us. If you have something in you that causes you to forget that you even that causes you to go to trip. Watch this. When I was in the military, right? ADHD. I was one of the people that they used. I was one of the persons, children they experimented on with Ritalin and all that stuff back in the day. As I got older, it changed into something. I went through a couple of different ones. And then, as I got older, when I was in the military, they tried to put me back on stuff. But this time, they put me on something called Concerta. If you look up Concerta ain't nothing more than meth. Methylenidate. It's meth. It's not meth in the form that they get. It's meth. And they have tricked you and I into believing that they're not pushers, right? 3 strikes and you're out. A whole bunch of our people are still not out. 3 strikes and you're out. Clinton and Biden and Clinton and Trump and others labeled us as super predators because we push them. And by the way, if you're pushing these things too, you are Pharmakia too. Those are witches out there too. Ali Sadiq, the stories and all that are funny, but let's be honest, right? You a witch. According to scripture, Ali Sadiq is a witch. He ain't trying to, he's trying to do better. He's not out there pushing. But I'm not. But we glorify this stuff sometimes too much. Don't glorify. I'm trying to help somebody. Don't glorify this thing. Oh man, I like Snoop and all them talking about the stuff and how they had to sell this and do blah blah. Witchcraft. Why are you surprised that he's now making money off of your people still in a different way? He was performing witchcraft back then. Oh man, I'm surprised. A Lil Wayne, this and that or whatever. Lil Wayne not only is into witchcraft, it was out there selling and doing all that stuff, but Lil Wayne himself is on that purple drink and all this stuff himself. It's witchcraft. Controlling the mind, manipulating your situation, manipulating how you see life. This is witchcraft at its finest. Or at its worst. This is witchcraft, beloved. They're telling you and I that it's all right to continue to do this. It's not. When you uplift the person, when Drake tries to change himself thinking that being so-called black means making sure that I become the biggest pusher who's never pushed anything out there, I'm going to out-push Pusha T. We saw how that happened, work for him, but still, that's the mindset. I'm going to out-push Pusha T. Those persons who push that stuff in their communities, you guys are witches too. According to the word. Just because you wear a chain and you got a dark skin color, don't mean that you can't be a witch. If we be honest, the biggest persons who are literally starting to call themselves witches out of any community are so-called black women. Because witchcraft has manipulated so many different things for them. They're like, shoot, I might as well be the one manipulated. See, I can empathize. I can even see a little bit of where you come from. It's still witchcraft, though. It's still not righteous. It's still evil. Sisters out here preaching, still using tarot cards. Brothers out here still preaching, talking about, oh, but the Most High is really the devil or whatever. Stop. Witchcraft. Be careful about these persons, man. One world religion. They just don't call it that. It's witchcraft. Yeah, it's spiritual warfare. It's witchcraft. And witches, according to the Bible, deserve this witchcraft. We're going to stop acting like it's not. It is what it is, beloved. It is what it is. It's witchcraft. We keep trying to dress it up. Oh, well, because you don't want to make persons feel bad. Oh, well, they y'all knows their heart. Yeah, they got a passion, a heart, a love, a passion, a heart for witchcraft. Now watch this. This is where it really gets. This is where it really gets in there. We're getting ready to take our leave in a little bit. We got to get ready for Ministry of the South to preach the word for us. All right, everybody ready? How you doing, Brother Aaron? If I didn't say so already, I think I did, but if not, please forgive me. Right? You ready? This is where it gets deep. We got like no more than 10, 15 more minutes before we got to go ahead and do our shout out. This is where it gets deep. Shabbat's not there. Right? This is where it gets a little deep. You ready? In speaking on these things and having this conversation and making sure we have the right and correct mindset and all that stuff. Right? In speaking on these things, one of the things that we have to have honest dialogue about. You ready? When it comes to witchcraft, when it comes to all these different things, one of the things we're going to have honest dialogue about is verse 24 of Revelation chapter 18. Revelation 18, last verse of Revelation 18, it says this. It says, and in her, and in Babylon, where these merchants are, who have made money and have taken away the light, where persons don't even preach the word anymore. Some of you don't preach the word because you make money from the companies that give you all this stuff because of their witchcraft, and you bring a lot of you witchcraft into your communities, into your so-called churches, into your cirque, into your assemblies, into Qadasham, into your Hadasha'al, right? You are bringing witchcraft in. Hear this, beloved. You're bringing the witchcraft in with you. Revelation chapter 18, verse 24, and in her, and in Babylon, right? The merchants who are selling this stuff. The preachers who are making money from the merchants, right? The preachers who are preaching with witchcraft and manipulation. You know, like when you do shout music and you do a shout dance, that's a rain dance. That's not biblical. Yes, it's of so-called black culture, if you want to call it that. But that being said, not just because it's not all skin folk, it's kinfolk. Not everybody's trying to be righteous. Be careful what you're bringing in here. Up here talking about black is king and making excuses for Beyonce, literally talking about the serpent, literally putting her child and saying that she's the Madonna and her child is the new Christ. Taking the same pose and making excuses for it because you in the Bayhive. Not even knowing that literally she's wearing outfits that witches wear, number one, and then not being honest because if it's called the Bay Hive, a lot of you don't know that small groups of witches is called a coven, right? If you're in a small group of witches, you would call it a coven. How you doing, Sister Gertrude? Excuse me. And how you doing, both Surf? Excuse me. Right? A small group of witches is called a coven, but a large group of witches is called a hive. Right? A small group of witches, once again, is called a coven. But a large group of witches is called a hive. And all she had to do, really, all she had to do was anything. But she stood up there talking about black is king, and then putting there, when you watch the whole thing, she literally has a whole thing where a woman raps talking about the woman is the devil. She has a scene in the Black is King thing. We did a watch party on a little bit where she has a scene in the Black is King thing, and she wore the serpent, or the other guy's wearing the serpent or whatever, he's the devil, and then by the end, she takes over the serpent, dressed in all white. No, I'm saying a coven, C-O-V-E-N. A small group of witches is a coven, but a large group of witches is a hive, and everybody wants to be in what? The Bayhive. And she literally wears outfits and then puts pictures up and then puts productions. Matter of fact, remember didn't she have a song called Church? And the whole thing is talking about her riding some dude? What do you think that's doing to the next generation? Who've been taught to worship her no matter what? Or to worship a Nicki Minaj no matter what? Somebody that truly is out of their mind. I feel pity for Nicki. For those of you who even know all the stuff going on with her recently. She lost her mind. Or how everybody uplifted Kanye, because all Kanye had to say is, Jesus walks. God showed me the way because the devil trying to break me down. And everybody gave him every excuse in the world. And he was telling y'all all the different stuff. And he became the thing that he told you. I'm not against this per se, but this is what he told y'all. Right? Remember, he made it look bad because he was trying to get, he said, and when he get on, he leave you for a white girl. Get down, girl. Go ahead, get down. And then what did he do? It's witchcraft at its finest. These cats don't even believe what they say. Once again, love who you love. I'm talking about him specifically. Did all that and then did the exact opposite thing. And everybody let it go, right? But he was given witchcraft. It was controlled. A lot of y'all don't even know. There's certain frequencies that they put in music specifically because they know that some of you will dance to it no matter what if the frequency is correct. Some of y'all don't even know. Like there's certain bass lines that are put at specific frequencies because they know that if they put them on those frequencies, even if you don't like the person, you'll dance to the beat. And if you'll dance to the beat, you'll open yourself up to the lyrics. Y'all look it up for yourself. I got to finish up. I'm sorry. Get out of our crocodiles. Thank you, Holy Spirit. We got to finish this last part up. And in her, and in this Babylon, all these witches and stuff, with all these spells and curses and all this stuff happening, in Babylon was what? Was found the blood of the prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Hear me, beloved. How much blood of the prophets is in witchcraft? Right? How much blood of the saints? How much blood of Israel? How much blood of the kingdom? How much blood of our family members is sitting there in Babylon's hands due to this witchcraft and these merchants? How much blood? And how much more blood must be on their hands before we actually start saying maybe we should do something about it? Right? How much more so? How much more so before the Most High comes back? How much blood has to be on you see what I'm saying? You got to separate from the system because you don't recognize you about to be blood guilty by association. This is evil. We uplift the witches. It used to be Darth Vader was evil. Now children want to be Darth Vader. It's witchcraft. It used to be, right, that the Wicked Witch of the West was evil. Now, they're making musicals to ensure that you know her story so that you know that really evil is just a perspective. Every single Disney movie that they've been remaking in the image of the devil, a lot of them were already made in the image of the devil. We just didn't know any better, but especially the ones that are remade. Every single movie, have you not noticed that all these persons now have to be so-called anti-heroes? To where nobody really knows if it's righteous or not because, hey, there's really no such thing as morality. That's an old school thought process. Right? Maleficent. Didn't they make 2 movies about her? I didn't see the second one. I saw most of the first one, I think. I don't think Solomon's ever even seen it. Maleficent. You guys know about Maleficent. Maleficent, back in Sleeping Beauty, was wicked. But now, wait a minute. I mean, she's wicked in your eyes, but real talk, she's actually not wicked. And it was because the prince, who was righteous, he's not really righteous. He actually was somebody who not only did her dirty, but then basically thought he had offed her, and he basically left her for dead, or he didn't leave her for dead, but he took her wings and all this other stuff. And so she has every right. And she actually was the one watching Sleeping Beauty. She was the one watching Aurora. So, she actually was really the mother for her. And when Aurora needed a kiss, it wasn't actually true love's kiss from a man. No, it was actually a woman-to-woman kiss, but it was not sexual woman-to-woman kiss, even though it's kind of sort of maybe that, but really it was more so like a motherly thing and all this stuff. What? Witchcraft. Celebrate. I haven't seen the movie, but the latest remake of 101 Dalmatians, not the one with Glenn Close, but whatever the other person is who played it. You got Glenn Close out there, and Glenn Close is wearing all this stuff. The girl is wearing all this stuff, and Cruella DeVille, and all of a sudden, she still eventually becomes the Cruella that more than likely skins puppies and she hates Dalmatians and stuff or whatever. But hey, she became that because her mother was so evil. system set up to get you to be okay with Pharmakia, to be okay with the witch. Used to be okay to celebrate, ding dong, the witch is dead. Now the witch needs to be able to be given all these songs to make sure that they sing, so that we'll understand, that the witch was, you know, she had no alternative. And even if she did, she's really a great person down on the inside. It's so sad that evil had to be taken out, because even though she was evil, she was actually righteous. What? In all these movies, you got to redo it. Scar. Well, Scar, if you look at Mufasa, well, Scar actually was really in line, and Mufasa was supposed to be really nothing. He was just a little nothing on the side. And Mufasa, he actually, is kind of scandalous, because even though he wasn't really, you can see how Scar probably would have been upset, because he was jealous that somebody else gave him an opportunity, and this and that. He actually helped Mufasa to be able to get into the position that he was. And so even though he did do wrong, it is kind of wrong how they did him. You see what I'm saying? Like, with your children, they're even taking the stuff to where they introduce something. They gave them one thing, and then they got them to be attached to it. And now as they grow older, what do? They changing all this stuff up to be able to get you and I to say, oh, okay, witchcraft, it's okay. Evil, it's okay. Pharmakia, it's okay. That's what the beast is about. This is how Babylon works. But all praises to the Most High. Yeah, Mufasa stole his birthright, right? All praises to the Most High. No, it tells us in Revelation 18 that Babylon must fall. And if Babylon must fall, then those merchants of death must fall. And if those merchants of death must fall, then any witch realize you are cursed, and you too must fall. Come on? All right, I'm on. Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you so very much. So we're going to do our shout-out. I'll explain how the shout-out works. You're going to have to come over to TikTok real quick for the shout-out if you like. Thank you for being on. If you came over from the podcast, IG, Clapper. If you were on with us on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, if you're with us live, if you're watching us later on, whatever the case might be, we got some really great stuff, especially for our brothers going on today. So brothers, make sure you peep game. Make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you put aside about an hour and a half or so. Hopefully it won't be any longer than that this evening. But this is how the rest of the day is going to work, okay? At the top of the hour, in a few minutes, we're going to do our podcast. We'll put the information up for the podcast on the shout-out. We'll tell you how that works in just a second. Besides that, so that'll be at the top of the hour, 10 a.m. New York time. At 11 a.m. New York time, it'll be Shabbat school for the babies on Zoom. At 11, and then later on at 7, I'm thinking love, so sorry. At 7 p.m. New York time today, please, ma'am, please, sir, we are going to have our Brothers in Black event for our brothers. Focus on our brothers. It doesn't mean that women can't come. It doesn't mean that children can't be there, right? Everybody is invited. Just know it's focused on the brothers. Brothers, we're asking that we come in solidarity, dressed in black. You don't have to come in any kind of suit or blah, blah, whatever. We just ask that you wear black in solidarity. That also means if you can be, please be prepared on Zoom to maybe show yourself wearing some black for a little bit here or there, all right? Or if not, the whole thing. Well, we thank you all. We appreciate you. We honor you. Ministerial staff, we have prayer tomorrow at 7 a.m. New York time. We'll have our live session, a longer live session tomorrow at 8 a.m. New York time. If you enjoyed this, feel free to join us tomorrow at 8 a.m. New York time, where we actually got some pretty interesting stuff that actually should be on Patreon, especially for those that are in at SOC University. You should see we found some extra stuff. We talked about Darwin already with some of the evolution stuff with the science and religion. We actually got some stuff that's really, for those of you who didn't like the fact that we introduced that Darwin was not only, using science, so-called science culturally to go ahead and promote racism, it's going to be a doozy for you tomorrow if you didn't like that one. If you didn't like that one, you're really not going to like tomorrow, but we're going to tell you the truth. All right. So thank you for being part of the series. Reversing the Curse means visiting the lie. I appreciate you. We appreciate the Malakhe in each and every one of you. In other words, we appreciate the royalty that Yah has made you to be, whether you be male or female. We honor your journey. Thank you for being on. I'm not, like I said, we were on early today. I'm not going to make any promises. There's a lot of stuff going on in my life. There's a lot of stuff that's moving all over the place. There's a lot of stuff that we're seeing. There's a lot of things that the enemy is trying to throw at us. But I've just made a decision, henceforth and forevermore. We've just made a decision. Basically, we're going to be about it. So, yay will be yay, nay will be nay. If we say we're going to do it, obviously humanity is a thing. But if we say we're going to do it, it's going to get done. All right. And so we'll see you for all those different things. Join us over on TikTok if you'd like to be part of a quick shout out. And then we have Tennessee South who's going to give us the word in just a little bit. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate you. Everybody for being on all the different platforms. Thank you so very much once again. We appreciate you so very much. Thank you again. We honor you, and we honor you on the journey. So we give our honor and praise to the Most High. We give our praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya. And remember, as always, beloved, that you are loved. You are necessary. You are majestic. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. May peace be upon you today in completion. For those who are still with us on TikTok,